This is a Business's Mission podcast. Business's Mission. I'm Gaya Gord, your host.
The transition from living for God to living with Him. It's not complicated, but it's life-changing.
Today, listeners, I'm rejoicing and happy to have Bill in the studio. And as some of you have been following us and have listened to the podcast over the past month, you've come across a podcast with Bill about fasting and, hey, I want to learn and see some breakthroughs in the situation, just get clarity about what to do with the business in China. So, Bill, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Gaya. It's great to see you too. I'm delighted to have the time together.
Yes, because, Bill, what I understood, you have been going recently a few times to China. And I remember the last time I saw you, you were in a cohort, the cohort we have online, and you were all radiant, like your joy meter was a 10 because here you were in China. I see you grinning all over. So, Bill, why were you so delighted with your time in China? Because over the past year, you've been like something needs to happen there. Something, what is it? So I'm curious. I'm sure our listeners are curious too. Why is Bill Job grinning all over? The joy meter is at 10. Tell us.
I believe that maybe the best way to explain it is I corrected a mistake that I had made. Some time ago, I felt like I needed for other priorities to be at home more in the States with my wife. And I made a decision to engage someone else to manage the company in China for me. And we were engaged. I was engaged with them throughout the process for the last 15 months or so. But when I was able to visit in March, I realized that the Lord was impressing me that I had acted prematurely by sort of turning over the leadership of that company to these very, very capable people, and that it wasn't an issue of them, it was really an issue of me not being in the position that the Lord wanted me in. And so I regained or retook that position as the leader of the company, accepting that responsibility. And what I discovered is that I have this experience with the Lord where we are not using normal business metrics to measure what success is. And I got to thinking about why that is. And one of the thoughts that I had was that if you own everything in the universe, you're probably not going to be motivated by making more profit or making more money in one particular company that you own because you're already completely successful in that regard. There may be different metrics that are interesting to you. And one of them,
Bill,
yes.
what are you saying here? I think you're saying some deep things in a few sentences. If you own everything in the world, can you repeat this? What?
Sure.
And extend on it a bit.
Okay, let's contrast two business owners. One business owner is mediumly successful. Let's say he's got some money in the bank and he has a decent house, a decent car, but he owns a company and he's really wanting this company to produce a lot more financial strength for the family and for the success of the business. The normal metric, I think, and at least in the Western idea of business, and it could be maybe American. I'd love to know from our readers if I'm thinking like an American value or if it's truly Western value. But the main definition of success is that the shareholders, the people who own shares in the company, their values increase. The value of their shares that they own increase. And that's the purpose of business. It's not really to create more value for everybody. It's to create more value for the shareholders. That's kind of the definition that I've heard. But if another company is compared to that, and in this company, the owner is also the owner of everything else in the world, as in Jesus' identity. So he is the one who created everything. All things have been created by him and for him and through him. And so he may not be motivated by the same thing about accumulating more money because he has everything already. And we are saying theoretically, he's the owner of the company that we're stewarding. And I say theoretically because it's a belief that we can say we agree to, but then when we listen to ourselves speaking, we may not be speaking the way we believe, like we believe it, or we may not be acting as though we actually believe it. So this is one of those delightful areas where I say, I believe that the Lord owns this company that I'm stewarding with him. And then I want to get my words in alignment with that and my actions in alignment with that. And then if we ask him, Lord, what is it that's motivating you? What is the metric or the measurement that you are looking at? And it struck me a long time ago that I think eternal values are at this point fit into the conversation a lot more than temporary values. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that cash, money, is a temporary value. That is, when I die, I may not take it with me. I think I have the option of investing it in the kingdom and accumulate it in heaven under the command, make for yourselves treasures in heaven. I think we do actually get to do that, but we can't do it if we hang on to the values. We have to invest it in the kingdom to make that transfer. It's kind of like a wiring or TT, our value beforehand. And so if money isn't really the right motivation for God who owns this company that we're talking about, what does motivate him? I think it's actually people. I think he sees every person as an eternal being and he knows them, he loves them, he cares for them, he knows their hearts, he knows their woundedness. And from his vantage point, looking at the city that we're in, he could see everybody in the city. He knows all their names, their birth dates. He knows their needs. He knows their destinies. And then he sees this little island of an oasis in the city called a company that he owns. And so if he wants to send people to his company so he can expose them to the fragrance of his grace, as it says in Corinthians, that we manifest this fragrance, that makes perfect sense to me. And so he should, yeah, go ahead.
So what I hear you saying, that you get again a deeper understanding of, okay, when this business is the Lord's, he may not be as interested because he owns everything anyway. So the money part might not be his main purpose, and it's the people part, right?
I think that makes sense to me. I know it's not the normal way to measure, business success, and there has to be enough profit for the business to stay alive. But I tend to think of it like blood in my body, in my heart. Like I have to have enough cash to stay alive. I need enough blood to stay alive. But the purpose of my life is not to pump blood in my around. It's just one of the essentials. And so I don't think that the purpose of business is to create cash or more value, but it is essential that we do that for the business to survive.
So here we are, already quite a while into the podcast, but we still don't know, why is Bill's joy meter 10 all the time, this period of that you were in China?
So I'll try to get to the point. Sorry, Gail. I'm a little bit maybe wandering around. So I asked the Lord when I went to visit recently, I said, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "I want to be among the people." And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense because the people to you are more important than virtually anything else. They have an eternal element to them. They're going to live forever, and you would love for them to live forever with you. And so this is their chance for you to manifest yourself in some way to attract them, to open up the eyes of the heart that they could understand what is perhaps the hope of their calling. But you do seem to use people in that process. And in this case, I felt like he wanted to use me. He wanted to be among them, but he wanted to also manifest to them his care. And so it feels to me like if we make ourselves available, we can allow God, he's actually already abiding in us. We can allow him and his emotions, his feelings to people to actually come out. And we can communicate to people his interest, even though we don't necessarily have a lot of good words for that. So my experience was he first had me rememorize everybody's name in the
And
company.
how many
Yeah.
people are in your company?
I think there's 70 something. Yeah.
So memorize 70 names.
Yeah. hmm In another language. So it gets a little bit different. I remember trying to memorize some of my Mongolian friends' names, and their names were really long and sounded very different. So it's not as easy as memorizing names of your own culture.
Mhm. So, but you did. You
I
are
did.
like, mhm.
Yeah. And so then just let me draw the
Uh,
picture.
just
So
sorry, Bill. I'm just practical. How long did it take you?
oh, probably maybe a couple days. And so one of the ways to do it is I put it in an app called Anki, Anki for is a flashcard app. And so you can put everybody's picture. I prefer to go by pictures and names. And so it would show a picture of an individual. And if I could remember their name, then I would say it, and then I would hit the next slide, and it would be the answer of their name. And I would then
Okay,
evaluate, did I get it right or not? So it's just a flashcard program.
a flashcard program. So what is was it the name? Then we can put it in the text. You will app it to me. Then we put it in the text
Yeah.
because this is practical. Okay, go on
Okay. So
with
I,
your
I asked,
joy meter.
yeah, I asked AI what would be a good app, and AI
Oh
said ANKI is the name of the app. It's a really useful program for learning, memorizing anything.
yeah,
Okay.
that does sound. Maybe I will put your picture in there too, Bill, so
Thank
I
you.
know
Yeah,
your name when you
I
arrive
feel
next time.
it's incredibly important, isn't it, to know people's names? I was surprised at like when I was at a conference, sometimes there's a speaker and they're quite, well known, and I feel I feel strange when they know my name. Like, oh wow, that feels good that somebody
Hmm.
knows your name. And I
Yes.
was terribly embarrassed, Gail, when I realized that some of these people had been in the company for years. And I didn't even remember their name, but I didn't remember their story either. And so I have one employee whose job is to understand every family, all of the financial challenges, the health challenges, and this person is just one of my absolute stars in the company. And so she knows all of the children's names and their ages and what grade in school. And so periodically, we'll get together, we'll just go through everybody's picture. And I said, give me an update on who this is and what they're experiencing, because I want the company to be able to partner with the Lord to represent the Lord and express the Lord's care and resources for them. So, in my definition of the purpose of business is to create eternal value for everyone involved. So, not just the employees or the shareholders or the suppliers or the government officials we react with, but because in the new covenant we can manifest the fragrance of Christ wherever we go, and that's in fact kind of the main deal. We can allow that fragrance to come over, and anyone that we touch experience that fragrance of Christ. So this is like the one of the purposes of the kingdom. He wants to be known, and he's going to use those who know him to manifest his fragrance wherever they go. It's like super easy. We don't get to do it. We don't make it happen. We're not trying to manifest it. We abide and walk with God, and it's one of the outcomes. It's just one
Hmm.
of the results.
It's like you say, in a way we don't try, because we are, with him, through abiding in him. At the
Yeah.
same time, it does ask some effort. It took you a few days to to
Yeah.
come in line with it.
Mhm, mhm. Right. So there is an investment that we can make so that it kind of positions us in relationship with people. Like one of the investments is simply we need to be with people. And this
Hmm.
is in our society nowadays, that's less and less a common experience because it's not the same thing as necessarily being online with people. As much as I am enjoying this right now, I would much rather be in your home with you, in your presence. So this gave me
Yeah,
the chance
so
to do this with these workers.
I mean, I'm working on a new book project, Bill, just before we were here. And one we were online, I shared a bit with you. And one of the chapters I'm gonna write about is the power of being seen. You
Mm,
know, how when we feel seen, when we feel noticed, how that is so, it can do so much in our
mhm,
lives. I know
mhm,
for myself, I have a few people that where I kind of feel they saw me, when I wasn't making podcasts, when I wasn't an author yet, but they saw something of God in me or some talent or some, and I think that's what I hear in this. You help people, being a channel of the Lord,
mhm,
of making kind of like, hey, I see you. God sees you.
mhm.
It's
That's exactly how it felt, Gaya. Yeah. It's not normally a business metric. How's the company doing? Well, I'm seeing my employees, but in in my understanding, I feel like that's what I'm responsible to do, if that's what he said. And remember, this conversation started by me asking, Lord, what do you want to do? So you start with a blank slate and then let him have the role of defining where we're going to go. What are we going to do? And so he said, meaning himself, I want to be among the people. And you can say, oh, well, but he's God. He's already among the people, but he's not able to express himself among the people as naturally as if he can borrow me for a while. And I've, heard that expression that so and so is channeling somebody else, and it means that they're like replicating someone else's life or their words or their actions. I actually think we get to channel the Holy Spirit when he's present and he wants to borrow our mouth, our eyes, our hands, our hearts to express, to just present himself, to the people in the company. And so I began to realize how much he enjoyed the employees, how much
hmm
the Lord himself enjoyed and knew these people, how much he hoped for them. And I realized that my way of defining a business it's not close to being the normal way in terms of I don't care so much about the money. We want it to be successful. It has to be successful to survive financially, but I'm not motivated by more financial success. I am motivated when people experience Him, when people change, when people receive favor and a blessing from the Lord, when they begin to interact with Him themselves. It's that passage in Ephesians, the prayer. Yeah, go ahead. You got a question.
So can you give some concrete examples?
Sure.
How did this interaction with some of your employees, what did you see happening?
Yeah. So I've got multiple departments. There's a group of machines. They're called lathes. And so our product has to be put onto a lathe, which is spinning, and there's a little knife in there that shapes it. And so the operator opens the door, puts a piece in, closes the door, turns the machine on. And when the machine's finished in 2 minutes, he opens the door, takes the part off, puts another one on. And so I just go stand with him right there by the machine, and I'm just saying, Lord, what do you want to say? What do you want to do? And so he will
Won't
guide.
won't he be a bit nervous? The boss
Sometimes, yeah,
standing right,
yeah. I get a
getting
lot of
all
feedback.
shaky and
Yep, yep. So I'll look at their hands to see if they're shaking, and it's happened sometimes. And so then I'll just touch them on the shoulder and probably move away and come back later and kind of let them get used to the idea. But it really affected things when I would just gradually have a simple conversation like, how are things going? And I just want to thank you for being with the company for 5 years and all of the work that you put into it, and then just casually drop their first name into the conversation. And you can see sometimes the head will just snap right around and look you in the face. You know my name? I never had any idea you knew my name. And I've had that many times occur when you just lay out their first name in a conversation, not making it obvious, but just kind of natural. Then you see them react to that. And it's just as you say, the boss sees me. He knows my name. And so it feels, from my point of view, knowing the Lord wants to be there, I'm actually representing the Lord. It's not so much me, but Him. And so when you are learning the names, you're also asking the Lord, how do you want to pray for this person? What is it that you want me to know about them? And so you're really engaging the Lord relationally with the people. Then you have this in your heart and in your mind beforehand. And then when you get a chance to see them, your heart kind of pops up. You sort of gets excited because you know this is a person that the Lord is invested in. The Lord is very interested in them. And so wander around among the dozen or so people in that department. And then I'll go to another department nearby. And this department has a lot of heavy lifting involved. They're pulling these like 20-pound steel mandrels or molds out of our product. And then they're having to hand carry it and put it in another cart. And so, in a way that's not too obvious, but kind of makes sense, I'd often put myself in a position where I get to help them do that. And so on one occasion, one of the members of another department walked by and he gave me a big thumbs up, because he saw me lifting and carrying weight. And that's not typical for the boss to do. But it felt like the Lord was leading me to be in this position. So you just say, Lord, where do you want me to go? And then just go where it's most comfortable. And it's not like a super spiritual experience, but you're still being led by the Lord to stand in a certain position, to watch people do stuff, maybe to participate, and then go talk to them if the opportunity comes up. A lot of it is just smiling. As you say, people want to be seen. And so
Mhm.
you can, if they're nervous having you too close, you can stand back about 3 meters and you can still see them. And your expression will define their reaction. So if you look like you're judging them, like you're waiting to catch them making a mistake, like you're unhappy with their performance, then they read that and that makes them more nervous. But if you're manifesting acceptance and interest in them, genuinely caring for them, they can discern that as well. I think some of it is your spirit and their spirit are beginning to kind of connect. And so then I go to another department, and this other,
But Bill,
yeah.
a, a,
Hmm.
a question. I mean, do you have the luxury that you have good management? Because I'm kind of listening to, kind of with the ears of some of our listeners, like, I don't have time for that. So are you blessed with capable leadership who are doing the whole management and that you can just be on the floor with the people? How do you organize your time?
Very interesting question.
Or is that something for another podcast?
it, we this is a theme that can be built into probably several podcasts. It has to do with capability or adequacy for the job. Yeah, honestly, I'm a horrible manager. I'm really not very good at it. I think I'm ADHD. I'm bouncing around all the time. But what happened in the previous years was that because I was believing that it says that we're not adequate for anything is coming from ourselves, but our adequacy is from God who makes us adequate as servants. The word anything, I think, means anything. And so I'm
Okay,
not adequate to be a manager, but he is.
this might be good for another podcast. This is a whole other team, but I just wanted to, lay that out. Like, but you were in your story, you're going to another department.
Yeah.
Please
And
finish your story.
this is one of the most delightful departments because it's one of the lowest ranking in terms of like importance, or it has women doing the work, not to imply anything from that, but it's
Okay.
tedious. Men are not very good at it. So it's just a matter of taking our product and putting it onto a little bit of it's like a sandpaper that takes the edge off of a piece. And so it's twirling on a little mandrel. And you just touch the product to it, turn on, touch it again, and then put it away. So these women are just marvelous, but they, among all the employees, feel like they're less seen. Like you would not know who they were. You might know other people, but you wouldn't know them. And so to know their names and to stand there and just talk to them and just make eye contact, it just incredibly brightens up the world. But you get that strong sense that that's what the Lord wants to do. The Lord wants them to know that they're seen because the Lord, in fact, sees them. He knows them, he understands them, but we're this kind of the physical manifestation of God in a sense. So we bring the fragrance of Christ into an environment. We're not adequate for any of the stuff that's coming from ourselves, but the adequacy comes to us through Him, from Him. And He can make us adequate for anything. But we also had the blessing of COVID where I couldn't get into China for 4 years. And my little buddy in the wheelchair that ran the company, she kept everything going quite well, making more profit. The company grew during all of those years. So I know I'm not needed. I'm a little bit troublesome when I come around because I may want to do some new development, and that's a little bit disruptive to things. But all of that faded away this time with what was a familiar experience with my previous company. It wasn't the normal business metric that the Lord was interested in. It was the kingdom. And in the kingdom, it's really about touching people, loving people, caring for people, bringing His presence into their world, into their environment. But you actually need to do it physically. There's something about the physical presence and being with people, the ability to show respect and the ability to say, I see you, that to me aligns with the Lord's priority so much more than with Harvard's definition of what business is about.
Hmm.
And so I've been able to do it, and I just love it. That's why I've been so happy.
So that made you tend to be with people to, yeah, show His interest in them
Yeah.
to the people. I mean, I don't hear you say, "Oh, I saw people asking about my faith," or it's just being with them and leaving that up to the Lord, Bill.
Mhm. Yep. That's been my practice for 30 years. Yeah, I don't I just get to do what he wants me to do. I don't have to do everything. And there will be times that will happen, and usually they'll ask other people. In my previous company, I didn't lead people to the Lord, but it began to happen all over the place, but it was more local, more indigenous without me trying to be the head of the show. But I became kind of the demonstration of God's love that created the questions in their mind.
Well, we are already at the end, 30 minutes I see on the clock here.
Mhm.
Bill, it's been a joy to hear you. And I think my joy meter went up a little bit during this conversation, even though I must add that I was already pretty joyful, joy-filled because of other reasons. But,
Mhm.
well, thank you for sharing. I would like you to share one last thought. What should our listeners take away?
Mm. Eh, I think we can ask, particularly if we have a business or even if we have just a position in a company, we can ask the Lord to show us, what do you see in the people around me? What do you see when you see the people in this company? I want to see what you see. I want to value what you value. And I ask you to give me words for people to let them know that they are seeing when that's the appropriate thing to do.
Well, thank you. Hope to see you soon again. Well, at least in 2 weeks' time, and we'll listen to you again. Thank you,
That's
Bill.
that sounds great. Yeah, I look forward as well.
Okay.
Blessings. Bye-bye.
Do you seek to integrate your faith with your business? Bill and I will start our next online training, Kingdom Mindsets for Business. We invite you to join this inspiring and hands-on 10-week journey with business people from around the world. Learn more on bammoves.com. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with another episode of the podcast Kingdom Keys for Business, Life and Work. And you'll find more episodes on our channel on YouTube.